This is where you just got to appreciate greatness, folks. The record now 17-16 for the Golden State Warriors, but you still get Hall of Fame performances from Steph Curry. 8 of 8 from three-point land, zipping the ball around on offense. Draymond Green setting an example as well. Everyone knocks down shots. 42 assists on 53 made baskets. Can you say vintage dubs? What's it mean on today's show?
Who can stop Steph Curry?
Hopefully we'll never find out.
There's not many defenses in the world that can stop him.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, it is about time we do one of these winning editions live. For everyone that's been asking, where's the consistency been on the live shows? Let's just say, had the flu, not once, but somehow twice in a 2-week span, and that'll take you out a little bit. So if you say, Chuck, you look terrible, I do. Thank you. But we're recovering, and the Golden State Warriors do not look terrible in this game. They look very good, efficient. Offense was excellent. Defense, very good. And the Philadelphia Sixers did not have a good game whatsoever. We're going to break it all down on today's show. This is Locked On Warriors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This is a live show. Get involved. Hop in the chat. Matt Kolsky is going to be reading some of his favorites off, and I will feature them on the show. You can also check us out in the morning after the games or at night after the games on the audio podcast. We like to post these things Monday through Friday. 139-105, the final score in favor of the Golden State Warriors. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We also have a free daily newsletter. You can get it delivered right to your inbox at LockedOnDaily.com. Again, that is LockedOnDaily.com. A lot of layers to this one, Matt Kolsky. And by the way, my name is Charlie Walter, formerly at 95.7 The Game in the Bay Area. Cover the Golden State Warriors on the flagship station. Also cover the team and their championship run in 21-22. Was in Boston for the finals. Some champagne. For CBS News Bay Area, KPIX. Matt Kolsky did the same at 95.7 The Game. Let's just get an opening thought right out of the gate before I kind of tease what's coming up on the show. Just one word that describes, I said vintage. Give me one word that describes what we just saw.
Well, my first thought is I didn't get Nan champagne representing 95.7 The Game, so congratulations to you. My second
thought. They gave that to Dickinson, man. Boots on the ground was probably getting sprayed in the face.
R.I.P. me. I just love this. I
literally asked for one word, Kolsky, and just love this. You had to give me 3. Love. It's a love story.
Love. I don't even know what to say about the guy. And you know, a lesser human would have gone for the record. I don't know if you caught that from Brian Anderson and Reggie, but 9 for 9 is the best ever perfect 3-point shooting game. And
Steph wasn't trying to come out. There was the play with Dennis Schröder going in there. I think
that was earlier
in the fourth. Yeah,
that was earlier. He sat down when it was time to sit down. And look, part of that's Steve Kerr too. But just what can you say about Steph Curry? Nobody hits a heater in the history of basketball like Steph Curry does. And it's one of the best things to watch. It's one of the reasons why I think he has. I mean, listen, I'll say this till the cows come home. I believe Steph Curry is one of the 10 or 15 greatest basketball players in the history of the world.
Transcendent.
And yet I still think he maybe is even more popular than that, right? He is more beloved even than his standing in the all-time basketball hierarchy. And it's because the pure joy of watching him go nuclear the way he did. You know
what's crazy, Kolsky? To cut you off, pure joy is not something that I would have said 6 minutes into the game, because the Warriors got off to a hot start. Like, this one was really never even close. My lasting image was after the Warriors went 13 of 13 Assist-wise, 13 buckets, 13 assists in the first quarter. Buddy Hield just holding up his arms in triumph as he's like, I finally knocked one down. Lindy, you knocked one down. Moses, you knocked one down. Kaminga got hot. It was
you get a three, and
you get a three. Everyone got a three in this game. And they showed him with like 7 minutes left in the first quarter. Warriors were up 9, and he did look happy. You know, he plays with so much joy, and he just looked frustrated. It was after a specific play. By the end of this game, it was pure jubilation from everyone, man. It felt like the fall again.
Yeah. Steph was quoted coming into this game, you know, you don't go 12-3 on accident. And he's right. I mean, there are factors, right? It was a easier schedule as 15-game stretches go, and you know, they were remarkably healthy over that stretch. They got some really good performances from some inconsistent dudes. All of that's true, but you still don't go 12-3 by accident. On the other hand, you don't go whatever it is, 4-13 by accident either, right? So this team is somewhere in the middle. And the thing about the Western Conference is that little variance in the middle can take you anywhere from the 4th seed to the 9th or 10th seed, right? So that's the trick for the Warriors. And, you know, look, somebody in the chat already saying it's just the Sixers, and the Sixers are pretty rough. Like,
they've been hot, though. They'd won 8 of 10. They turned it around. But based on the eye test today, like, they were abysmal, man.
It's tough, too. They've lost Jared McCain for the year now. Like, they're 9 times, Ferris, they've had this big three on the floor at the same time. It's not enough, you know, and I'm actually a guy that is pretty much in favor of getting whoever needs rest. Like, I don't think that's really a big issue for the NBA. I think it's much more discussed than it needs to be, but you got to play together. I mean, if you're going to have any aspirations whatsoever, your best players got to play together. They got to know how to play together. And
your best player has to lead by example. And Embiid was just, I mean, they said it at on the TNT halftime show tonight, that Kenny did the breakdown at the big board and just showed all the missed opportunities where Embiid is fading away and refusing to use his size. I mean, you're 7'1", man. Take it up strong. Finally did it late in the game and scored some points. But there was a minute there where he just kept bailing the Warriors out, playing on the perimeter, and his defense was equally as bad. And Maxey can't make a damn layup, man. I don't know what happened to his finishing game. He could shoot the ball, but, man, I have never seen it. It was almost impressive how many layups he missed tonight in and out.
Yeah, I think it's just an off night for Tyrese Maxey. He's the one guy I'm not too worried about there. But with Embiid, it makes me sad more than anything, because I am not one who believes that he's got a huge effort problem or a will and determination problem. I think his body is just brutal. Like, I just think the human body was not meant to support that level of size and movement. And he just looks old physically to me. What is he, 28, 29 years old? He's not an old guy. He's not an old guy.
Like, he's about Wiggins' age, right?
Yeah, but he moves like a much older person. And there are plays where, like, he's not getting back on defense, but I think he's calculating risk, and that's a terrible thing to have. It almost reminds me of watching, like, old man Sabonis back in the day. Like, I am afraid every time he's involved in any sort of physical interaction. I don't know, man. Everything they said.
You talking Arvidas with just braces on every joint of his body, just like 4 braces.
and Arvidas too would do some things at times that made you go, whoa. But then he's, limping up the floor. And Embiid obviously is not that bad. I mean, that was a 36-year-old arthritic Arvidas Sabonis that I'm talking about. But there are just these moments where, like you said, late in the game, he got into it. He started banging. He scored some points anyway. I don't know if you could say he had a major impact. A lot of that fadeaway stuff feels to me like a guy who's doing everything he can and just doesn't feel like he has it in his body to attack the basket 30 times a night. And that's a bummer.
I want to get into this game a little bit deeper. Coming up, we're going to talk Dennis Schröder. He finally has a coming out party. And I said this, Kolsky. I'm going to show you the proof.
I got the timestamp, yeah.
You got the timestamp, man. I absolutely said he's going off tonight. The law of averages says that he has to go off. And quite frankly, the law of averages said that the entire Warriors team was going to all start hitting some buckets at some point. It had been 30% effort after 30% effort. Tonight, the Sixers gave them clean looks, and the Warriors just buried them. Draymond Green, Steph Curry, they were just maestros, surgeons with the basketball in their hands. Smart basketball, the turnovers were down, and everyone got involved. We're breaking this thing down. Locked On Warriors just getting started, everyone.
Forget that. We champs. Why are you starting with that question? We got 4 championships.
All right, today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up the W. I love betting on which players are going to score a touchdown, how many points each team will score. That's what I like doing. And on today's edition of Chuck Bet's FanDuel, I went with Dennis Schröder over 12.5. Put my hard-earned cash on Dennis Schröder 12.5 because I very much believed in it, and it hit with ease. It hit early. Dennis Schröder in the game. 15, I guess it didn't hit that easily, but he did have 15 points in the game, and it seemed like he got it pretty early as he did not have to play late. 15-6 for Dennis Schröder. That bet hits. And also the Golden State Warriors, who were -3.5 in the game. I hope you adjusted them up to -23.5 for about plus 9,000 odds because they cover with ease in a 34-point win. If you want to make bets, Warriors bets, you could do it on FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
I don't give a damn about no damn Drake night.
All right, everyone, let's get back to it. Let's kind of break this thing down because we got right into it with the Steph Curry love fest. And why wouldn't you? He had a heat check late in the game. Probably would have hit about 2 or 3 more three-pointers had Steve Kerr given him the chance to stay in there. Actually turned down a 3 late in the game to kick it to may have been a backdoor cut to Wiggins there who laid it up and in. But it was just overall the theme of the night. Ball was zipping. Curry, his best facilitating game in a long time. I thought he set the example. Then they just kind of came at you with everyone. It was shades of what the Warriors were doing in November when they were at their best. It was buckets, and it was different people in little spurts. It was Schröder, a spurt to start. Then it was Waters hit a couple. Then Curry goes nuclear. Then it's Kuminga off the bench, a quick little 7-point stretch with a step-back 3 in there. Moody comes alive for a bit. Just a fun time all around, man. Some of the passing. Trayce Jackson-Davis had one backdoor to Wiggins. A thing of beauty. I mentioned the one Curry to Wiggins. Draymond, his communication was unreal tonight on offense and on defense. How much of that was the Warriors just playing A-plus basketball? How much of that was the 76ers on a back-to-back after crumbling down the stretch against the Kings, just not showing up with a single pulse tonight?
I mean, I think it's both. The Sixers really looked lifeless, but 42 assists is not something that just happens because the other team is looking lifeless.
53 buckets.
Just 42 assists, full stop. I wonder if anyone's done that yet this season. That's a ton of assists in a basketball game. Remember, the key number used to be 30. They were crossing 30 in the third quarter, it feels like. It was really an awesome game to watch, and it did seem like they had every single thing going. You mentioned it. Kuminga was great. Lindy and Moody were both hitting threes. Buddy, he was not great, but 1 for 5. Frankly, it's been worse lately. So you'll take that from Buddy Hield. He didn't have any insanely stupid turnovers, and he hit one of his three-pointers. Congratulations. It was the sort of game that makes you wonder Why don't we see it more often? I mean, I know you're not going to shoot 60%, right?
It was the sort of game that makes you wonder, Kolsky, if the rose-colored glasses have a chance at coming back on. No, but it makes you wonder if with an easier stretch coming up, because we'll run through the schedule in a minute, if the Warriors can come back to the law of averages, start becoming just a decent shooting team. I mean, they've been missing layups. They've been clanking wide open threes. Curry's been off. Lindy Waters couldn't hit a shot there for a minute. I mean, everyone just kind of had their down stretch at the same time. Like Dennis Schröder is a perfect example of that, man. Dennis Schröder was shooting 29% from the floor with the Warriors, 20% from three-point range in his games, was averaging 9 points. One positive plus minus. It was the Lakers on Christmas Day in his 7 games. They were a minus 102 in his 196 minutes with the team. It was just, it just didn't fit. It did not work. But you knew that Dennis Schröder is a better player than that. It'd be one thing if it was just turnover after turnover, but he was just missing shots. And that's not who he is. And today he kind of comes back to form. So I texted you before the game. I said, this is Schröder's game. And I think everyone's going to knock down some shots. And it proved to be true. At a certain point, you meet in the middle. There is a thing called a mean. And when the Warriors have been shooting as bad as they have for as long as they have, at some point you're going to have one of these nights. And this was one of those nights.
Yeah, you do wish they could save a little because they need more of this. And I mean, that's going to be the thing that determines the season, probably. Obviously, anything can happen. There's always some possibility of some insane thing happening to change the fortunes dramatically. But for my money, where the Warriors end up is going to come down to whether it's, what percentage of the time is it a good shooting night versus bad? And if it's 50% good, 50% bad, I mean, you're going to end up a mediocre team fighting in that play-in range. If it's 60-40, 65-35 to the good, now you're talking. Now that's a team that has a chance to make some noise. And I do think there's been a lot of roster turmoil. For a team that's only made one trade and traded away an injured player, it's been a weird season for the roster. Guys have been in and out, 1 game here, 2 games there. Obviously, the Melton injury. I think we're starting to see a little more of something specific crystallizing out of this roster. More reasonable rotation size that Steve Kerr is leaning into. And I think that has a chance to sort of raise the shooting percentage across the board. I really think if guys like Moody and Lindy and Kuminga have a better sense of their role, they're going to be more comfortable, more confident, better shooters. And then Andrew Wiggins is bound to bounce back at some point. He's bound to start shooting the 3 again, if not 40%, at least in the high 30s.
7 Warriors in double figures. Draymond was awesome. He had 15, 7 assists, 6 rebounds. Wiggins had 15 points on 6 of 11 shooting, also had 7 rebounds, 4 assists too. Wiggins, a pretty quiet 15. He tends to do that from time to time. He finishes around the rim, knocks down a 3-pointer. You look at the stat sheet, you're like, oh, 17-point Wiggs has 15 points. Like that's a bucket away from 17. Play him, the 29 minutes he typically plays, he'll get you 17. Like that's what he does, Mr. Two-Way Wiggs. Curry with 30 in the game on his 8 of 8 from 3 and efficient 11 of 15. I thought just as beautiful as his shooting tonight was the 10 assists that he had. I mean, they were good passes, skip passes, all over the floor, backdoor cuts, just kind of did a little bit of everything. And like I said, set the tone. Schröder had 15 on 5 of 9 shooting, 3 of 4 from deep, 20 from Kuminga on 8 of 11, 5 rebounds, 5 assists in 25 minutes. He was efficient. He made an impact on the game the second he came in and made sure that the Warriors' hot start from the starting unit was not in vain, really picked it up for the bench squad. Lindy had 10, and then the other player in double figures was Moses Moody, who went 4 or 5 from 3 and had 12 points in the game. Tell you what, when Moody gets in rhythm, he looks like he has the potential to be a pretty nice shooter, you know?
Yeah, I thought that since the beginning with him. That's why I was so excited when we saw the shooting we saw from him in preseason, right? I mean, I don't remember what the average was, but he was shooting near 50% for 3-point in the preseason, and I didn't necessarily think that would continue. It's been a weird season for Moses Moody, partly because of playing time, partly because of minor injuries. I think he's got a knee thing that he's sort of monitoring and sitting a game here and there. Consistency is going to breed confidence, is going to breed more consistency from a shooting percentage standpoint. And I have a lot of belief in that kid. And more than anything, he's an absolute professional for a 22-year-old guy. And this is the Warriors team that I'm excited to see, right? There's a ball handler and potential scorer next to Steph Curry now. There's Jonathan Kuminga consistently, we hope, continuing to get playing time and opportunity and having things made a little more comfortable for him. And there's Steph Curry still having it. Draymond Green too. Like, that's the team I'm excited about. And I still believe that team can be a 4th or 5th seed if they stay healthy and have, representative shooting. Because I do think Moody, Lindy, Kuminga, like, these should not be aberration performances from those guys, right? And again, I know it's not going to be 60% every night, but I don't think anyone played outside of themselves today. Steph Curry was Steph Curry, and everybody else did what they ought to be doing. Everyone was doing them tonight, and it really worked.
I thought Kuminga had one of his better games. I mean, he looked excellent out there. Looked polished. Looked aggressive from the get-go. I thought Schröder obviously had one of his better games. But aside from that, yeah, I mean, it's what we saw from pretty much everyone minus Buddy to begin the season consistently. So the fact that you've seen it before, look, faith is when you haven't seen something, right? You have faith in something, although it's never presented itself. I mean, it's more than faith because you've seen it. I mean, we saw it with this exact core, even with DeAnthony Melton being out some games at the beginning of the year, missing Pajemski, who had the broken nose. Like, this same exact core had moments against pretty solid teams. So it's somewhere in there. The question is, can they do it consistently? The answer has been no, they have not been doing it consistently, but they'll have a chance to win their first back-to-back game since November 22nd. It has been a while. And for New Year's, my resolution, Kolsky, don't get ahead of my skis and don't get too high or too low, because
That's
every day I'm changing my damn mind. I'm like, oh, Curry's cooked. Oh, Curry's back. I'm just going to shut up. I'm just going to enjoy the ride.
Well, don't shut up.
We do a
show,
We do have to do a show. I do have to drive the traffic. But
listen, though, I something you said there, I think the consistency hasn't been there. You're right. And look, there's a comment in the chat right now. Somebody said, nothing to get excited about. You're better than most of the bad teams, inferior to elite teams, 42-45 win team. Right there it is. You put it on the screen. I think that is largely what we've seen, especially since Melton got hurt. But I guess what I would pose to that person who's going by what is it? A Tommy. What I would pose to you, A Tommy, is that in the league right now, how many teams are in that elite bracket? Three or four total? 2 of them are in the East, right? I mean, Cleveland and Boston are clearly elite. Would you include the Knicks? I wouldn't. I wouldn't include the Knicks.
I think maybe not
Oklahoma
elite,
City,
Memphis
for sure.
looks nice.
Memphis looks nice. Are you and look, the Warriors have had a miserable time with Memphis, no question. But elite? Are we ready to say elite already? When they haven't even, their best player hasn't been on the court for the past couple seasons. They haven't been involved in significant games.
The only elite teams, it's Oklahoma City, it's Boston. I think Knicks obviously trending upward big time, but Cleveland, Boston, Oklahoma City.
That's it. It's those 3. And if the point that the commenter is trying to make is like the Warriors are not on the level of those three teams, then sir, you are absolutely correct. Right? They're not. And I'm not sure they have any path to get on the level of Cleveland, Boston, and Oklahoma City right now. But on a good day, they can beat anybody else handily. Right? On a good day.
Or they're going to take you down to the wire, and it's going to come down to can they protect the basketball and hit some shots.
I'm not saying they're favored against Memphis on a good day, but if the Warriors play well, there's no question they can hang with Memphis. And if you're in a game, Steph Curry can win it. So, look, if the only thing that makes you happy is being the best team in the NBA, then no matter who you root for, you're going to be upset most of the time. The Warriors are probably not the best team in the NBA this year. But when they play well, they're right up there with everybody but about three teams. And a lot can happen over the rest of the season, certainly over the next month and a half leading up to the trade deadline. So I guess I would just say the issue now is, can you get more of this type of performance against teams that give you better opposition, right? This was noteworthy in that they didn't let the Sixers back in it at any point, and most of their wins, they've let the team back in it. But can you have the 138-point scoring night when you actually need 138 points to win? Or can you get the execution down the stretch after you put together a good 3.5 quarters against a good team? Those are the things that they still need to prove. You can't prove that against the 76ers. They did everything they could tonight, and it was beautiful to watch.
Dubs get the win, 17 and 16. We've been talking about so many individual players. One name that hasn't been brought up, and it's the first time he didn't put up double figures in his last 6 games. That's Trayce Jackson-Davis. He's come along, man. Has been really good as of late. Had a nice start to the game and then, disappeared for a little bit. But, hey, when you're knocking down 3-pointers and just zipping the ball all around the perimeter, it's tough to get everyone, including the big fellas, involved. But we're going to break down Trayce Jackson-Davis's game. We're going to take a look at the upcoming schedule, see who the Warriors got. Gets a little easier. When you go through a stretch that the Warriors went through the last month, that easier times are ahead. How easy? We're explaining on the show.
When you have rare situations, rare players do rare things.
All right, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. I love going to live events, sports, music, concerts, whatever it may be. And one of the nice things about it is the Game Time app. Game Time Picks makes it easier to get your tickets with a new feature. It filters out the fluff and shows you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The closer you get to your event, the cheaper the tickets get. You have to love that. Another really nice thing about it is the app's all-in pricing, showing the total cost upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. You're not seeing $95. You click checkout, and there's like $70 of purchasing tax. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time.
Here's how I feel. It's about winning basketball games.
All right, so that was fun, man. That was fun, Kolsky. The fourth quarter for me was spent, typically it's on the computer. I'm trying to figure out the angles of the game, but this was one of those games where by the end of the first, I felt like as long as Golden State kept their foot on the pedal, I had all the storylines written up. Kylan actually got Santa Claus got Kylan a Peloton for Christmas, and I happened to use it because it's in the basement right in front of the TV. And I got to hike the what was it? The Austrian Alps. I was hiking in Austria during the fourth quarter there, broke up a little sweat. And Guy Santos, the human victory torch, he broke his sweat in there. Kevon Looney and Kyle Anderson, specifically Anderson, we have not seen much of Anderson. He gets some run there late in the game with Spencer. So overall, you just saw a little bit of of everyone in today's game. And the little bit of everyone was with a bunch of guys playing down the stretch that haven't gotten a lot of time. And quite frankly, they were efficient in those minutes. Like even Kyle Anderson, 3 of 3 in his 8 minutes for 8 points in the game. But I want to spend a minute on Tyrese Jackson Davis, who plays 21 minutes today or on Thursday, 1 of 5 from the floor, only 3 points, had 5 rebounds, a block, did have a big old tomahawk to start the game. But I had kind of put down these notes before the game unfolded, but I don't think one game's enough to deter my opinion here, so I'm going to roll with it. He's kind of becoming a dude, man. Like he's aggressive. He's been good defensively. Before this game, had scored 6 straight in double figures, averaged a double-double over those 6 games. And, I mean, for a team that doesn't have a ton of size, he's been a nice, vertically gifted player down low with his 6'9" frame. And at this point in his career, looks to be a pretty good draft pick and someone you can build through, maybe not as your starting center long-term, but definitely one of your first guys off the bench, and has started a lot this year. I like him, man. After 16 and 16 against the Cleveland Cavaliers, comes back down to earth. But with the perimeter play from the Warriors today, they just really did not need his offensive game. Overall, during this 7-game stretch, including the 6 where he was in double figures, what have you seen from Tyrese, man? How impressed are you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing a lot of what we saw last year, right? And
he started off hot. Let's not forget, he hit like his first 11 field goals to begin the season.
Yeah, and you made the right point. He is the most vertical player of all the Warriors bigs, right? So he is the closest thing they have on this roster to rim protection, and I think that might be the most important thing he's shown. Like, listen, none of his offense is exceptional. Most of his offense is created by other guys, but he knows where to be. He does the right things, and he has been tenacious on the boards, and he has been really protecting the rim. Like, he has been a deterrent around the rim, which, you know, Kevon Looney is a heck of a team defender and can guard bigger guys one-on-one and smaller guys too, by the way. Kevon Looney is a great defender, but not really a rim protector. Certainly not a player you would describe as vertical. So Tyrese is kind of a unique asset for the Warriors in that respect. I mean, on the other hand, you would turn him into a bigger player if you could, right? Like, it's tough for me to know what his future with the Warriors is, because we've talked so much about how they really need a stretch big who's not only able to shoot the ball, but also at least 6'11", and neither of those things is Tyrese Jackson Davis. So what is his future with the Warriors? I don't know. Is that a guy that can have, you know, a 15-year NBA, or at least 12-year NBA career as an effective, useful big man? Absolutely, man. And he clearly has the right attitude. He works his butt off in the game. And yeah, he's been huge for them. Granted, they've not been winning those games, but
and that's why it's been overshadowed. But
yeah.
It looks like he's getting a little bit of his dad in him, you know, a little Dale Davis action in the way that he's just finishing around the rim. You know, you think he's going to go up with a little, and he's had some nice finesse moves. It was maybe Christmas Day where he had the and one where he kind of went up and under, and that thing was beautiful. But lately, it's just been power, man. He's just been going up with the one-handed sledgehammer. Gotta love that. But
to be fair,
standings and schedule. Finish up and then standings and schedule.
Just you know, Tyrese Jackson Davis against Joel Embiid is not a fair fight. So he did what he could tonight.
Very true. Very true there. Let's keep everything in perspective. Warriors 9 seed right now. They're back in the play-in. If the season were to end today, they're 17 and 16. They're 2.5 games outside of Dallas for that 5 seed. And the nice thing is the Warriors are going to have chances to make up ground. Memphis is their next game, not an easy one. Correct me if I'm wrong. I saw Ja Morant out at least a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, they will miss Ja, as I understand it.
So no Ja Morant. So you get Memphis at home without Ja Morant. Then it's Sacramento without a coach. Then it's Miami, winnable. Then it's at Detroit. An upstart team. They're better than they've been in the past, but still a game you can win on the road. At Indiana. As long as you're not playing Indiana at Chase, it's a winnable game, apparently. Then it's at Toronto. They stink. It's at Minnesota. They've been underwhelming. It's Washington at home. You got a 9-game stretch here where 8-1 wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world. 7-2 wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world. And all of a sudden, we see a path to where this team could be right back in the thick of things. And then as you get closer to the end of the year, it's more of, crap, good, great. It's just a mix of everything where the schedule has been really lopsided as of now. It balances out towards the end. So they could put themselves, the Warriors can, in a pretty good position to enter post All-Star break and post trade deadline or nearing the trade deadline in a decent position to compete. And that gives you the realistic optionality to go out and maybe grab a player that you feel like you could extend or that has, a couple of years of service time on that deal.
Yeah, and worth noting from a schedule perspective, it's so hard to count wins. I don't like to do that. But like you said, clearly these next 9 are easier than the last 9 were. The game right after that is Boston on January 20th. They're one of the elite teams we mentioned. Then you get Oklahoma City on the 29th. That's it. Then you're done with those 3 elite teams. So, am I going to favor the Warriors every night against the Memphises and
Milwaukee's in there? And you're
maybe not, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they're not favorites every night.
You're going to have the Knicks in there a couple times.
But are they overmatched? I don't think they're overmatched against the Knicks.
We'll find out.
I don't think they're overmatched against Dallas. I think those teams are good. I think they may even be better than the Warriors. But to me, those elite teams are the ones that stand a cut above, and the Warriors are pretty much right there with anybody else.
All right, that's a win, Kolsky. Any final words for the way out?
Big weekend, tough back-to-back. Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens, starting with the Memphis Grizzlies. No Ja Morant. Warriors get the W. Final score of this one, 139-105. Steph Curry, 8 threes on 8 attempts. The team with 42 assists. We're going to leave you with that. Locked On Warriors, free and available wherever you get your audio podcasts. Check us out on YouTube and leave us a thumbs up on the way out. Peace, everyone. Have a wonderful night. Happy New Year, if I haven't said it yet. Statute of limitations, almost up.
Happy New Year.